And sometimes it's monumental. It's like this huge circumstantial moment that hits us. We didn't ask for it and we don't feel prepared for it. Most often it's these tiny little small frustrations that just hit us day in and day out that we didn't ask for, don't always feel prepared for. That's when it hits the fan. And it's a little bit ironic, I guess, this week. Maybe it's just perfect timing, God and his infinite wisdom that we're in the middle of this series, because this week, I'll just be honest with you, it's just been one of those weeks. It's hit the fan. It's hit the fan for me. And I've had some things that I didn't ask for, didn't feel prepared for. And can I just be honest with you today? So this is just me. I usually come into weekends and I'm amped. I'm tired today. I'm just tired. You ever got to the end of the week and you're just tired? And I know that some of you, and part of why I want to tell you that is because I know that some of you understand. Some of you are coming in right now tired because you've had it hit the fan in your life recently. And in the middle of this last week, there was this one moment for me, kind of in the middle of it all, where this thought kind of just struck me. Man, I hate pain. This is not, by the way, a trick question. Would you agree with that? Just all over our campus, just raise your hand. Would you agree with that? I hate pain, right? We don't really ask for it. Again, that's not a trick question. Most people, if you're being honest, it's like if we had a list of things that we could choose that we wanted to be a part of our day-to-day, pain's not getting written on the list. In fact, we spend a good chunk of our lives trying to ensure against pain, don't we? Or at least trying to minimize it and mitigate it any way we can. You know that we spend $22 billion a year on over-the-counter pain relievers? However, it struck me. I just want to actually challenge this for a second. I want to maybe just give a different perspective on this for just a second. I actually think we don't mind pain. Because after, I thought this and kind of went through my head earlier this week, it also struck me, I'm not sure we mind pain if we know it has a purpose. If we know the pain can be used for something good, we don't mind it. In fact, I would suggest we have an enormous capacity to put up with pain if we believe it's leading us somewhere ultimately good. I'll give you some examples of this. Some of you, you're back in the gym right now. It's been 20, 21, 22 days now, and you're back in the gym right now because of it being a new year. And some of you, it's 20, 21, 22, and you're already considering quitting the gym, right? Why? Because it's been painful. You've been sore. You've been working muscles you don't normally work, right? But it's not necessarily enjoyable, but why are you doing it? The reason you're willing to endure the pain is why? Because you believe it serves a greater purpose to lead you towards the health that you want. I'll tell you another example. I know some people, guys, this is crazy. I know some people, I have some friends who pay money to run marathons. They pay their hard-earned cash. I'm not talking 1 or 2 miles. They don't pay to run 10 or 15 miles. They paid hard-earned money to run 26.2 miles. I get tired when I drive 26 miles. Why do they do this? Why do they put up with the pain? Because they're the reward on the other side. One more little example. I was in the delivery room for all 3 of our children's births. We had Sienna, our oldest, almost 18 years ago now, actually next month, and it took hours and hours and hours of labor. What was interesting then, we had our second Silas just a few years later, and Sienna must have cleared the path because it took minutes and minutes. And then when we had our third Solomon, it was just like, all right, ready, push on 3, 1, 2, oh, there he is. I mean, he's out. But I saw the pain Jenny went through every single time. But every single time, as soon as she was holding those little babies in her arms, all that pain was a distant memory. See, the truth is that we have an enormous capacity for pain if we can find purpose in it. And this is exactly where I want to go today. I want to unpack how God takes the moments of our life when it hits the fan and how he breathes purpose into those painful moments. And to do that, I want to show you a guy today who had it hit the fan in a monumental way in his life, but he discovered a unique purpose in the pain that transformed his perspective on pain, and I'm telling you, it can transform yours as well. His name was Paul. He writes this letter. I would love for you to turn there in 2 Corinthians chapter 1. If you don't have a Bible, that is no problem. There's some of the seats around you at all of our locations right now. It's page 882 if you're using Bibles around you. Scroll down your mobile device, Google 2 Corinthians. I don't really care how you get there. Just get there. I want you to see this. I want you to see these words that this man named Paul writes. It was a letter written by Paul, and Paul would actually travel around the known world at the time in the first century, trying to convince people to at least consider Jesus. And he would move from city to city. But in between his visits to these different cities, he would write letters to the Christians in those cities that he had already visited. What's absolutely remarkable to me is that we still have these letters recorded for us today, preserved for us, that we can read even today. And one of those letters that Paul writes is to a group of people who lived in the city of Corinth. It's in the modern day Greece. And he opens up this letter by telling them about a moment in his life, it hit the fan. Look at chapter 1, verse 8. He says, "We think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble that we went through in the province of Asia." He's like, I'm going to tell you about the moment that it hit the fan for us. He says, "We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure, and we thought we would never live through it. In fact, we expected to die." Now, Paul's describing, real quick, he's just describing an event that he went through in the city of Ephesus. You can read all about this in Acts chapter 19. It's another book in the Bible. It tells you, gives a whole description of what happened, but I'll just sum it up for you. A mob of thousands of people formed with one intention: find Paul and kill him. Because he kept leading so many people to Jesus there in Ephesus at the time that it was changing the culture. Maybe you've seen clips on the news before. Have you ever seen news clips of thousands of people, marching and forming a mob and walking down streets, chanting and burning effigies? You ever seen clips of that? Now imagine that, and they're coming for you. You think you'd feel a little fear and anxiety? You think you'd feel overwhelmed? You think you'd be burdened by terror? And not to mention, by the way, Paul had already at this point in his life been beaten for his faith, imprisoned for his faith, threatened again and again. It hit the fan. He didn't ask for it, not prepared for it, and it weighed him down. That's what he said. I mean, just think about the words he just used. Did you hear him? I mean, this is crazy language he used. He used the word, he said, "I felt crushed, overwhelmed, beyond our ability to endure, expected to die." Now that might seem like real dramatic language, but the truth is some of you here today, you know exactly what that feels like. You've been there. You are there. Where you're facing a moment right now where it's hit the fan, or you faced a moment in your life where it hit the fan and it felt beyond your ability to endure. It felt like it overwhelmed you. He said, "Man, I expected to die." You know what's interesting about that when he says expected to die? Some theologians think that what he's actually saying here, the phrase could also carry with the idea that he wanted to die. This is just one of the things that I love so much about the Bible. It's not all cleaned up with a nice little bow on top. It's gritty. And it's raw, and it is vulnerable, and it's real. It's one of the things that actually gives us confidence in the Bible's reliability. See, if this were made up, if this were propaganda, you would not have a leader in the movement saying things like, "I'm not sure I wanted to live." And it's just a reminder to me when I read this, it's a reminder to me that the church should always be the safest place for people to find hope and support and love when they feel crushed and overwhelmed by life. This ought to be the safest place for that. The church should be a place where people can pursue Jesus while still struggling at times with depression and doubts and whether life is even worth it. I just don't have an appetite, man. I don't have an appetite to be a church that people feel like they got to put on a show here. People feel like they got to fake it here till they make it. We've got a ton of new people here. I realized that over these last couple months, and so I feel like I should just say and kind of orient you to our church real quick. If you're kind of dipping your toes in and kind of exploring whether or not you want to be a part of what's happening here, I would just say this. If you're looking for a church full of people who got their stuff together and don't struggle and just kind of ignore the realities that life can be overwhelming sometimes, you're not going to be comfortable here. But if you want a church where you can be honest about life, like Paul was, as you keep seeking hope in Jesus, where it's safe to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back every now and then, you'll feel right at home. You'll feel right at home. Because the truth is that those words were a reality for Paul and what he felt when it all hit the fan, and he was fiercely committed to Jesus. And if that was true for him, then we can, I think, assuredly say that it'll feel that way for us at some point too. And then Paul uses 4 words. He says, man, I need you to know about the moment it hit the fan for me. And then he uses 4 words that are a game changer and how we see the moments that it hits the fan in our own lives. Look what he says next. Here it is. But as a result of all that hitting the fan I just described, of all that feeling that I felt when I was crushed, of all that, but as a result of all that, we stopped relying on ourselves and we learned to rely only on God who raises the dead. And he did rescue us from mortal danger, and he will rescue us again. But as a result, that statement, guys, that's a perspective shift when it comes to our own pain in our life, when it comes to how it's hit the fan in our life. But as a result, it's like Paul saying, yes, it hit the fan. Yes, it was painful, crushing, overwhelming. I didn't ask for it, wasn't prepared for it, and no, I wouldn't have chosen to go through it, but I wouldn't change it now. Why? Because as a result, I've discovered something about God that wouldn't have been discovered any other way. As a result, I learned that God could be trusted. As a result, I learned that God was good, that God was present, that God never gave up on me, that God can be relied on. See, we talked about this last week if you were here. This is what God does when we open up our hands in trust, whenever we're in our moments of it hitting the fan, and we open up our hands and we just simply say, God, as long as you have me in it, show me what to get out of it. You do that and you will find, like Paul did, that on the other side, when it passes, because it will pass, you will be able to share your own but as a result story. In fact, I know for so many of you, this is exactly what's happened in your life. You could tell your own stories right now of how it hit the fan, but as a result, it led to something good. I know some of your stories. Some of you could tell a story, but as a result, I know my wife better now. Wouldn't choose it all over again, but I wouldn't change it because as a result, I stopped taking my relationship with my kids for granted. As a result of it hitting the fan in that season, God grew generosity in me. I'm more generous than I've ever been now. But as a result, I'm more compassionate now. I just have empathy in a new way. As a result, God led me to new priorities. It's changed our family. As a result, I discovered that God is trustworthy in every way. Not because I read it in a Bible, because I've experienced it. I just want you to consider for a second what Paul's doing here. He's sharing his when it hit the fan moment, and he's simply telling them how God used it in a unique way to grow his faith and expand his trust, isn't he? But see, the real question is, why? Why would Paul do this? Why would Paul be so vulnerable to these Corinthians, to us, and others who are going to read the letter? Why would he be so vulnerable to share his story like this? Why would he take the time to outline? I mean, parchment paper and ink, that was limited supply. Why take some of his precious resources and say, I want you to know how it hit the fan for me? Why would he do that? He actually tells us why he does it. And the reason that he gives for why he's even sharing so openly about when it hit the fan for him in the first place, guys, it's transformational if we will follow his lead. He says, I'll tell you why I'm doing it. Look at verse 3. Kind of go backwards because this sets the context for it all. This is how he starts everything. He says, all praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all what? Comfort. He comforts us so that we, in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort others. When they're troubled, we'll be able to give them the same comfort that God has given us. That's it. Paul's like, look, the reason I want to share my story with you is because I want you to experience the same comfort I received. I want to come alongside you right now. And if God can use my story of pain, if God can use my story of it hitting the fan to comfort you, I want it used. See, this is the key idea here in the passage we just read. He comforts, he being God. God comforts, why? So we can comfort. He comforts so we can comfort others. Guys, listen, it would be impossible to overstate how powerful this idea is right here in describing how our pain gets transformed and given purpose. Our pain begins to take on purpose when we allow our it that we are walking through to drive us towards others who've had to hit the fan in their life. Why? So we can comfort them. See, the only wasted pain is pain that is not shared. It's the only wasted pain. Pain that isn't being used to comfort others. I don't know how you feel when you see this word comfort, but I'll just be honest with you, at least this is me. It's kind of soft. Sounds kind of like, okay, doesn't fit. I'm being real. It doesn't sound very masculine. No, that's not on a vision board for most guys, right? I don't think Jenny, by the way, would describe me as a comforting person. Actually, this is kind of funny. Jenny and I, it was kind of weird, but I'll share it with you anyway. Don't tell anyone. Anyways. Jenny and I, we always talk about what we want on our tombstones. Like when we kind of joke about it, like we put on our tombstones. And she's made me promise. Well, she's like, here's what I want on my, see, I told you I was sick. So, because I'm not very comforting. I don't always see these things. So she's made up her mind, right? But you don't see this on tombstones. You don't be like, here lies a comforting man, right? You don't see that a lot. But check this out. This is what you need to hear. You know the word that's translated comfort here in this passage? It carries with it the idea of strengthening someone. I can get behind that. Of supporting someone. It's not sappy. It's not sympathy. It's actively coming alongside someone and offering them your strength because they feel a little bit weak. I think the idea behind the word actually is best captured by the Latin word for comfort. You know what it is? Fortis. Fortis. Which also means brave. Just think about this. You comfort someone when you come alongside them and you let them borrow a little bit of your bravery and your courage. And you tell them, man, I've been there. I know it's hit the fan for you. It's hit the fan for me too. I've been there before. I've had to hit the fan in those ways. I've been knocked down. I've been weighed down. I've felt crushed. I've felt overwhelmed. But as a result, and you share your story, and you come alongside someone and you speak life into them and you remind them that they're going to be okay and God will see them through it. You know, every week that I'm up here, every week that we're up here, this is what we're trying to do. And we're trying to comfort you. Not in some sappy, like, there, dear, you're gonna be all right, like patting your head, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not interested in that. But by speaking courage and bravery into you, that's what I wanna do for you. That when you have Jesus by your side and the creator of the universe behind you, there is no it that has hit the fan in your life that is so deep that Jesus cannot see you through it. See, God surrounds us with people, doesn't he, who've had it hit the fan, who we can comfort. Don't really know what to say all the time to him. It's like, cool, just bring him here. Let the songs say something to him. Let the message say something to him. It's okay, just say, hey, you know what? I've been finding some hope. I've been finding some comfort at church. Why don't you come sit with me? Here's another way that you can just offer comfort. Just speak life-giving words to someone who's had it hit the fan in their life. Tell them that they're gonna get through this. Send them a link to the songs that we sing here. Take a picture of a passage in the Bible that promises God's presence and just send it to them, text it to them. Give them words that build them up. Call them up to something greater. Call out bravery in them as they wade through the it that they're facing. And here's the last one. This is one I just kind of want to camp on. You can comfort others by just share your story. Just share your story. You know, I'm not sure there's anything quite as powerful then when we share our own stories about when it hit the fan, and then we let them know what we discovered about God as a result. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's exactly what Paul is doing in this passage, isn't he? He's showing us how to comfort others. He's sharing the story of his own pain. He's opening up about the ways that it hit the fan in his life. Why? To strengthen, to encourage, to bring comfort to those reading who've had their own moments of it hitting the fan. He's offering up his own pain as a source of comfort. I think this is probably the bottom line. Your greatest impact will likely flow out of your deepest pain. I wish that wasn't the way it is, but that's the way it is. Your deepest impact on others, your deepest impact on life will most likely flow out of the source of your deepest pain, if you let it. And guys, if you're a Christian, if you're here and your life changed by Christ, you know this to be true. Because isn't this the reality of the cross? The greatest impact coming from his greatest pain. Our healing, a result of Jesus' wounds. Our freedom, a result of his sacrifice. Our sins forgiven, a result of his blood spilled. Which means to follow in the footsteps of Jesus is to embrace that we'll face our own pain. But God can and will transform it, and he will breathe purpose into it. How? As we offer it up to comfort others. I told you guys last fall that my 15-year-old nephew, Noah, unexpectedly passed away last October. And he experienced the first symptoms of being sick on a Wednesday, and he passed away by Sunday night. And I was with my sister and her family over the holidays just a few weeks ago, and we were talking about everything, and she told me something that I didn't actually know. She told me that one of the lifelines for her through this horrible, horrible moment where it's hit the fan for them, one of the lifelines for her, one of the greatest sources of comfort, one of the greatest sources of strength and courage in this season has come from another woman who's a part of this church. Never met her. It's part of LCBC. And this woman here at our church heard their story and reached out. And the reason she reached out to my sister and my brother-in-law is because she's lost a teenage son. And she wanted to walk with them, to give voice to their pain, to comfort them with the assurance that God is with them and will see them through it. A woman who they've never met, choosing to offer her greatest pain to make a deep impact, to now offer comfort to others, and it has gotten my sister through some dark moments. Your greatest impact will likely flow out of your deepest pain. I mean, guys, who better to comfort someone who's experienced a miscarriage than someone who's gone through a miscarriage and still seen that God is good? Who better to comfort someone who's walking through a tough situation with a kid than someone who's been down that road and discovered that God never abandoned them? Who better to strengthen someone who's lost a job than someone who's been there? Who better to speak bravery into someone who's experienced loss than someone who's experienced loss? Who better to remind someone who's feeling overwhelmed by financial burdens than someone who's felt that weight as well and had God walk with them through it? Can I just ask you, is there anyone who comes to mind right now that you know they've had it hit the fan in their life recently? Small ways, big ways, doesn't matter. They just had it hit the fan. They didn't ask for it. They weren't prepared for it. Someone that God has put in your life to comfort, to stand with them and give them some bravery, some encouragement, to remind them that God is with them and will see them through it. And you know, one more little angle on this that I just feel like I need to share. You can't borrow someone's bravery if you're shut down. You can't be comforted, in other words, and strengthened if you never open up about what's hit the fan in your life. Amen. So if LCBC, I just need to say this, if LCBC is simply an event that you attend on weekends, I'll tell you, I'm glad, but you are missing out on the fullness of what God designed the church to be in your life. A place where you know others and can share your strength when others need it and can borrow it from others when you need it. This is one of the unique roles of being the church for one another. This is why we talk all the time here about you finding connections with others here, you finding relationships here. We want you joining one of our teams to serve here. And we want you getting into a group with others because we know that it's in the context of relationships that we find our strength. When it hits the fan in our lives, and we can give our strength in this context of relationships, and we can give our strength to others when it hits the fan in their lives. Some of you are worn out today. You're worn out because it's hit the fan and you've been carrying it all alone. And pride has kept you from sharing it. Or shame, embarrassment over it has kept you from sharing it. Either way, you don't have to carry it alone. And God can breathe purpose into your pain as well. I want to tell you why this matters to me so much. Why this matters so deeply to me. And it's because I've seen God do this in my life. I've tasted it. I've experienced God doing this. And in my early 20s, I actually came across this passage that we just read for the first time, and it grabbed a hold of me. Actually, this is the very first passage of the Bible I ever spoke on. At a small little podunk church on the eastern shore of Virginia 24 years ago. And I read those words that we just read out of 2 Corinthians that Paul wrote all those years ago, that God comforts us so we can comfort others. And I just decided when I read that, man, it just reverberated around in my heart. And I made a decision that I would take opportunities that I had in front of me to take the hurt and pain that I had experienced in my life and use it in any way I could to just try to comfort others. Some of you know a little bit of my story, the sexual abuse, that's part of my story from my childhood. I've talked about it, I've written about it, so I'm not ashamed of it. It's just part of my story. So I'm not gonna go into all the details. I've talked more about it at other times. I won't go into the details, but I'll just say this, it hit the fan for me. When I was a kid, that's a lot of pain to carry. And it breaks my heart to know that so many of you, too many of you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And when this passage that we looked at today grabbed hold of me in my early 20s though, it finally gave me a vision for my pain. It gave me a vision for my pain and what God could do with it. It gave me hope that my troubles and all the ways that it hit the fan in my life would not be wasted. Wasn't gonna be wasted. God could use it. God could redeem it. God can transform it into something that comforted others and encouraged others. But the only way for that to happen would mean I'm going to have to open up and share. And I realize that for most of you, the it that you've walked through, it's not the same as mine. We all have our different versions, don't we? It's not the same as mine, but you've got your stories too. You've got your stories that can bring hope and strength to people who need it. It's the divorce you walked through and how God saw you through. It's the addiction and how God saw you through it. It's the failure and how God saw you through it. It's the infertility. It's the betrayal. It's the disappointment and how God saw you through it. And I'm absolutely confident that you will have opportunities. Guys, you're gonna have opportunities placed in front of you to comfort others who've had to hit the fan. And when you do, when you take advantage of that and you lean in and you offer your story to help them, you will experience God doing something in you. You will experience Him bringing purpose to your pain, transforming it into something used for good because you made a decision just like Paul did all those years ago and like countless followers of Jesus have made since then, the decision that you aren't gonna waste your pain. You're not gonna waste it. But instead, you're gonna let God breathe purpose into it by using it to comfort others. That's who we're gonna be. We're gonna be people of impact, even if that impact flows out of our deepest pain. And so today, I actually want us to put this into practice, even now. And I want to ask you to stand at all of our locations right now. Would you just stand? And I'm going to ask all of our bands to come out at all of our locations. Don't freak out. I'm not going to make you share your story with anyone around you, all right? Just relax. But you know what I want us to do right now? I do want us to comfort those around us who need comforting. Because I realize right now that there's two groups of people here. Right now, wherever you are, there's two groups of people who are listening to this message right now. Some of you are here right now and you've had it hit the fan in your life. And God saw you through it. And you didn't want it, and you didn't ask for it, and you didn't feel prepared for it, but God proved himself faithful. You were comforted in the midst of it, and you discovered something about God through it that you wouldn't have discovered any other way. You have a story to share. You have comfort to give. And then I realized there's another group of people here today. You're in the middle of it. It's hit the fan recently. And you came in today needing some hope, needing some encouragement, needing some bravery. So what we're going to do is we're going to sing a song in just a moment, a song that we've sang a bunch of times here. And this song has a statement that's made right in the middle of the song about the promise of God's faithfulness to us even when it hits the fan. This is what it says. It's real simple. He won't fail. He won't fail. God won't fail you. I know you're going through it right now. I know it's hit the fan. He won't fail you. See, some of you are here today and you've walked through it and you know that to be true. You know that's true because you've experienced it. You've tasted it. That's your story. And some of you are here today and you need to know that's true because you're tired. And the it that you're walking through is deep. And I just want you to be comforted by these words today. He won't fail. So we're going to sing this. And if you're here today and you've experienced that he won't fail, that's your story, that he won't fail, I want you to sing it loud for the people around you as if you are looking them in the eyes, pleading with them not to give up. That's how I want you to sing it. I want you to sing it as your story over the people today who are in the middle of it and they can't sing it yet, but they want to believe it. And if you're in it right now, and that's hard to believe, I would encourage you today, just let it be sung over you. Let others comfort you right now. Listen to all the voices and stories that you are surrounded by right now who are saying to you, hold on. Hold on. I've had it hit the fan in my life too. But God will see you through it. Listen to the voices around you right now who want to remind you of what is most true. He won't fail.